My story begins in the shadows of hardship. As a child, I was surrounded by dirt, filth, and relentless poverty. Each morning, I would wake up shivering, dreading the cold that seeped through my thin, dirty clothes. My bare feet would touch the icy ground as I prepared for another day at school. The world around me was harsh, and the scarcity of basic needs was a constant reminder of my reality. But even in these difficult times, I held on to a faint hope that things might one day change. This is the story of how I survived, endured, and found meaning in the midst of suffering. School was supposed to be a place of learning and growth, but for me, it was a battleground. The education system was broken, and the environment was anything but nurturing. I struggled with the Arabic language, and my teachers were fierce and unforgiving. Their hostility made every lesson a source of anxiety. Instead of encouragement, I faced threats and violence. The fear of making mistakes overshadowed any desire to learn. Each day, I wondered why education, which should have been a light in my darkness, felt like another form of punishment. Learning Arabic was a daily struggle. My mind was clouded by fear, making it nearly impossible to concentrate. The teacher's presence loomed over me like a shadow, ready to strike at the slightest error. I wanted to do better, to read and understand, but the pressure was overwhelming. Every attempt to improve was met with criticism and, often, physical punishment. I felt myself slipping further behind, unable to keep up with my peers. The dream of mastering the language seemed to drift further away with each passing day. Violence became a part of my daily routine. The threat of being hit was always present, making it impossible to focus on my studies. I remember the anxiety that would build up as I tried to read aloud, knowing that a single mistake could result in a harsh beating. The classroom, instead of being a safe space, felt like a prison. My confidence was shattered, and I began to dread going to school. The fear was paralyzing, and it left deep scars that I would carry for years. As the violence continued, my ability to learn diminished. I was falling further and further behind in my studies. The other children seemed to progress, but I was stuck, unable to move forward. The pressure to succeed only made things worse. I felt isolated and alone, convinced that I would never be able to catch up. The sense of failure weighed heavily on me, and I began to lose hope that things would ever improve. Reading the Quran was especially difficult for me. The complexity of the language and the pressure to perform made it feel impossible. I watched as others read with ease, while I struggled with every word. The teacher's impatience only added to my frustration. I wanted to connect with my faith, to understand the words, but the fear of punishment made it an unattainable goal. The Quran, which should have been a source of comfort, became a symbol of my failure. There is one day that stands out above all others, a day I will never forget. I made a mistake while reading, and the teacher's anger erupted. He fastened my feet to the table and began to beat me fiercely. The pain was unbearable, and soon my feet began to bleed. I remember the confusion and the overwhelming sense of injustice. What had I done to deserve such cruelty? The physical wounds eventually healed, but the emotional scars remained. Enduring such torture at a young age left a lasting impact on my life. The pain was not just physical, it seeped into my thoughts and dreams. I questioned my worth and wondered if I would ever escape this cycle of suffering. Each day, I tried to find the strength to keep going, to believe that there was more to life than pain. The resilience I developed during these years would shape who I became, but the journey was far from easy. As I grew older, I began to search for answers. Why was I treated this way? Why did those in power choose violence over compassion? I realized that my experience was not unique. Many children suffered in silence, their voices unheard. This realization fueled a desire to speak out, to share my story, and to advocate for change. I wanted to ensure that no child would have to endure what I went through. Despite everything, I found a way to survive. The pain and hardship taught me resilience. I learned to find hope in the smallest moments and to keep moving forward, even when the odds were against me. My experiences shaped my character and gave me a unique perspective on life. I realized that while I could not change the past, I could use my story to inspire others and to fight for a better future. Breaking free from the cycle of abuse was not easy, but it was necessary. I made a promise to myself that I would never allow violence to define my life. I sought out positive influences and worked hard to build a future based on kindness and understanding. My journey was filled with setbacks, but each step forward was a victory. I learned that healing is possible and that we all have the power to create change. Today, I share my story not to dwell on the pain, but to offer hope. No matter how dark the past may seem, there is always a way forward. My journey is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of resilience. I hope that by sharing my experiences, I can inspire others to speak out, to seek help, and to believe in a brighter future. Together we can break the cycle of violence and create a world where every child is safe, valued, and loved.